As you all know, Luka Doncic has essentially taken over the basketball world recently and is literally accomplishing stat lines that even Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain never reached. On December 23rd, he dropped a near 50-point triple-double on the Houston Rockets. On December 27th, he poured in 60 points, 21 rebounds, and 10 assists on 68% shooting, which was simply one of the greatest single-game performances of NBA history. And just the other night, he dropped 51 points in a clutch victory over the San Antonio Spurs. At the moment, the kid looks completely unstoppable, and the craziest part about all of this is the fact that he's still only 23 years old. Based on everything we know about natural player progression, Luka is still another 4 or 5 years away from what should be his basketball prime. Yet he's already making the game look easy while putting up averages of 34, 9, and 9 on over 50% shooting. At this same age, neither Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, or even Wilt Chamberlain had scored 60 points in a regular season contest. He's putting up offensive numbers that look significantly better than even Kobe's legendary 06 season, which again came during the prime of the Mamba's career, which is something that is still way ahead of Luka. A few years ago, I made a bold prediction that Luka would be a greater Maverick than the legendary Dirk Nowitzki, and I took a lot of heat for that statement. But with every passing season since that claim, my stance is looking less and less bold. From this point on, I could continue making my typical video, praising all of Luka's statistical accomplishments, and focusing on his already impressive standing within NBA history. But for this one, I decided to take a different approach. I want to explain that Luka Doncic is the reason I love the game of basketball. Now don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily mean this in a literal sense, as I've loved this game well before Luka was even born, but I mean it in the sense of how Luka plays the game. What makes up his style is what makes the game of basketball beautiful in my eyes. Basketball is a complex game, which rewards players for their high IQ, for their sound and quick decision making, and for a player's ability to read defenses. Of course, having great strength, leaping ability, and speed are all things that can help a player succeed, but in a way, those are just surface level qualities. For example, the NBA G League is jam-packed with remarkable athletes, yet despite all of their God-given athleticism, many of them still aren't good enough to succeed on the NBA level. This is because there's so much more that goes into being a great basketball player than these shallow gifts, and no current NBA player is a better example of this than Luka Doncic. Just this past Saturday, Luka dropped an efficient 51 points on the Spurs and utterly dismantled all of their defensive efforts. If you go back and watch the highlights, Luka appears to be the slowest moving basketball player on the entire court, as he doesn't have the speed or athleticism to simply blow by his opponents. But what he does have is an incredible sense of discipline. He's a good decision maker, he's patient, yet persistent about getting to his spots. Unlike high-speed players like Russell Westbrook, Luka never seems rushed, anxious, or out of control. He lets the defense present itself and slowly and methodically goes to work from there. When you look at the tape, Luka isn't doing anything athletically that would make our jaws drop. Look at the way he utilizes and makes the most of his pivot foot. Look at the way he waits for the defender to sag off before he strikes. Look at the way he uses his teammates as bait in order to create space for himself. Look at the way he uses his eyes, pace, and body language to hint at the possibility of a lob just to end up finishing over the uncertain defender. Once again, he finds himself in the same lob scenario, but this time the defender's bite on the ball handler, which is when Luka decides to give it up for the assist. Even the final play of the game was a heads-up missed free throw that caught the defense sleeping. Essentially, what makes Luka special and what separates him from the competition is the fact that he almost never wastes any energy. He never dribbles just for the sake of dribbling. Every move that Luka makes has a purpose behind it, and many times, Luka doesn't make the same move twice, because he's waiting for his opponent to make his move first, so Luka can give the appropriate counter. As the saying goes, other players are out there playing checkers, while he's out there playing chess. This is why I've always hated the simpleton argument that discredits players from previous generations. Young basketball fans on Twitter love to talk about how the modern game is so much faster, stronger, and more athletic than previous generations. Due to this, they'll refer to players from the 80s and 90s as plumbers and accountants, because ultimately they were just like regular people who didn't have the athletic gifts of modern athletes. Again, this is one of the dumbest takes that a basketball fan could ever make, because you know who also isn't athletically gifted? Luka Doncic. Just like how Magic Johnson and Larry Bird weren't the most athletically gifted players as well. But what made each of those players elite was stuff that went beyond the surface level. They were intelligent, they had elite court vision, they knew how to misdirect the opponent, they knew how to read a defense and make adjustments, they knew where the ball was going before it got there, they knew how to use their body to shield off the defender, and more often than not, they were calm enough to execute when the game was on the line. Based on the way people argue in favor of modern athleticism, Luka Doncic just simply shouldn't be dominating the game the way he currently is. But that's what makes the game of basketball so beautiful. You don't have to be the best athlete to be the best basketball player. Becoming an NBA legend isn't about becoming a champion of the combine, but rather it's about mastering the nuanced art of the sport. Luka may look like a basketball Jedi in this point of his career, but again, in many ways, this kid still has his training wheels on. His best days are still ahead of him, and that is truly a stunning thought. So what do you guys think? Is Luka now your MVP, or is there someone out there who you still think is more deserving? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.